blog at Alexa Loves Books, and today we are celebrating the Something Strange and Deadly series by Susan Dennard. As you can see, the book's right here. This is the first book in the series. It's actually out in paperback now, and it is called Something Strange and Deadly, clearly. It's so good. I don't know why I only read it this year when it came out last year, but it's really good.
And here is the second book in the series, which is out today, and is called A Darkness Strange and Lovely. We've both read it already, and it takes place in Paris, and we both absolutely love it.
It's so good.
Yeah, so good.
Today, Susan was kind enough to actually agree to do an interview with us. And it's going to be a bunch of different questions about writing, about the series, and other fun stuff. So let's get started.
Hi, I am Susan Dennard, the author of Something Strange and Deadly, which came out last summer from Harper Teen. And I'm also the author of the upcoming sequel, A Darkness Strange and Lovely, which will be out in just a few weeks. To start, I would like to say thank you to Alexa and Rachel for hosting me. It's very generous and awesome of them, and they're very generous and awesome people.
How did you come up with the idea for the Something Strange and Deadly series?
So the idea for Something Strange and Deadly came from the most cliche places of all, which was a dream. Again, characters. I dreamt about the characters. There's my dog. And Eleanor, in the dream, I was Eleanor, and I was trying to find my brother who was missing. I didn't know who had him in the dream, but I knew that the only people who could help me were these sort of ragtag criminal almost people with special skills called the Spirit Hunters. And there was a grumpy inventor in my dream named Daniel. Everything was there, but I didn't actually have much of a setting. And so after I wrote this dream down, because I keep a dream journal, and the dream wouldn't leave me alone for a few days, I was actually working on something else. But I couldn't let this idea go of this girl missing her brother and these spirit hunters. And so I finally sat down, and as I thought about them more and more, I realized that the setting in which they sort of evolved as people was steampunk in nature and Victorian. And so from there, yeah, the story and the plot were born.
Are any of the characters inspired by people you know in real life?
So as for actual people that inspired the story, at the time, I didn't sort of recognize any similarities between the people that I was writing and people in my life, and I still don't think that there's that many similarities. My mother is nothing like Eleanor's mom. But Daniel is undoubtedly taken from my subconscious love of Dimitri from Anastasia. I like a year ago, watched that movie again and realized as I was watching, oh my god, Daniel is Dimitri, and Daniel and his relationship with Eleanor is totally Dimitri and Anastasia. Oops. But I don't think it's an oops, because obviously they're different people and it's different stories and different worlds, but I was obsessed with Dimitri as a kid and obsessed with Anastasia. Great movies, if you haven't seen them, or movie, if you haven't seen it, it's amazing. And so I think that's kind of what we do as writers. We subconsciously internalize these things that we love, and then they come out in our stories. And if I loved him and Dimitri, then I know other people loved him. Hopefully the same people will love Daniel.
What made you pick Chelly and Paris for your settings, and did you have to travel there in real life?
That has to do again with, I had my characters, but I didn't know where they were exactly. And I knew I wanted it to be steampunk. I knew that vibe was there, and I knew it was a Victorian sort of setting, but I couldn't figure out where, so I literally searched Wikipedia for the best place. And I wound up on the Centennial Exhibition, which was this first American World's Fair. And it was happening in Philadelphia in 1876, and it was cool. It was like the Disney World of Victorian Philadelphia, and I thought that would be the most badass place for, zombies to take over, and for Eleanor to be, working with the Spirit Hunters in this really cool location. As for Paris, that was literally just because I love Paris, and I thought it would be cool and glamorous to have her go there, which actually became a problem when it came time to write book 2, because I was like, well, why the heck is she in Paris? Fortunately, I figured all that out, as you will see when you read A Darkness Strange and Lovely. And the same was with Egypt. I just thought it was a really cool place, and I, wanted an excuse to go there. So, yeah, that wound up happening. It worked out well because actually, with the sort of mythology behind the grimoires and the Black Pullet, that stuff actually does tie into Egypt and Napoleon and France and all that. So that worked out. It was kind of like my muse subconsciously directing me in the right direction. So yeah, I hope you guys like it. Those settings as much as I enjoyed writing them.
Why did you decide to focus on the undead and necromancy in your series?
It has a lot to do, again, with these like subconscious loves, these things that I grew up reading and enjoying. Some of my favorite books are Garth Nix, his Sabriel, The Book of Three with Lloyd Alexander, Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin, and all of these books feature some sort of magical undead or ghosts or spirits or something that just I recall as a kid terrified me but also fascinated me, and so when it came time to like picking sort of the supernatural element, what it was that had taken my main character's brother, it really wasn't a hard leap to figure out. It was the undead.
Did you always know that the series would be a series when you first started it?
No. When I wrote the first book, Something Strange and Deadly, I was in this total bubble, like this publishing bubble. I hadn't started researching how the industry worked that much. And the idea of a series having, more sellable saleability versus a standalone, like none of that stuff entered my head. I was just writing a story that I loved. And as I wrote, I realized that because of this introduction of a second necromancer who is the ultimate bad guy in books 2 and 3, that I would need sequels. I would need at least one more book to really tell the whole story. So one more book turned into 2 more books and a prequel e-novella. But I think now, with all those words, I finally told the full story of Eleanor and the Spirit Hunters.
How did you pick the titles for your books?
So the titles for my books. The first book is kind of the most interesting story in that I was literally brainstorming with Sarah Kendall and Joanna Volpe were my agents, and my editor at the time, Maria Gomez, and we were just having drinks and eating cupcakes and just spitting out ideas. And Sarah Kendall said, why not something strange and deadly? She meant something as like a filler word, a blank, strange and deadly. But like we went into this like round robin, we were all like, something strange and deadly, something strange and deadly, something strange and deadly. I like that. And so the title was born. As for the sequels, those were chosen based on long, gigantic, enormous email lists back and forth, where we would slowly narrow down the list or add on 5 more options, and just eventually we figured out A Darkness Strange and Lovely, which was my favorite choice for book 2. I just love that title, and it fits the themes of the book so well. And then book 3, Strange and Ever After, also fits the story so well.
Just saying, guys. Anyway, now it's time for the fun stuff. Susan also agreed to tell us 5 random facts about herself.
And 5 favorite things about herself.
My favorite place to vacation. It's a very interesting question. And we don't do vacations that much, which is kind of sad and terrible. We do more like weekend day trips. And so I would say my favorite are whenever we do beaches. I love the ocean or gigantic lakes. And by gigantic lakes, I mean the Great Lakes. So any sort of coast, beach, it doesn't matter the latitude or the country or, warm or cold water. As long as it's a beach and there are waves, I am at ease and happy. My favorite food, cookies, obviously. That's like what I'm known for are my cookies. Although I don't make them that often, mostly because I'm lazy. But I do buy them at basically any coffee shop I enter. I can't help it. It's like an addiction. In addition to cookies, I have a really big weakness for Thai food. I like spicy stuff, especially like spicy Thai food. So anytime you guys want to go get Thai food, I'm down. It's a tough one because I have a ton of favorite movies. Star Wars, of course. Jurassic Park, definitely. It's like the book and the movie, kind of obsessed with. Indiana Jones, the original old school James Bond, not the new ones. Anastasia, of course. Disney movies in general, of course. Yeah, there's a lot of movies that I adore. TV shows is a little easier to boil down because I'm picky about my TV. My favorite TV shows are probably, above all, Avatar: The Last Airbender. That show was almost perfection, but only almost because I'm a Zutara fan and I really think Zuko and Katara, it was so well set up. It was so well set up, but other people don't agree, so hey, it was still an excellent show, probably my all-time favorite. Battlestar Galactica, also all-time fave. Firefly, of course. Firefly is brilliant, as is the movie Serenity. So, yeah, those are my favorites. Comedy shows, Arrested Development, pretty obsessed with that. The IT Crowd. Psych. Love Psych. Love Psych. Favorite books? Kind of like movies. Almost impossible to pick. You guys are killing me with these questions. If I had to pick a single book that I could only read for the rest of my life, I would say Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. But that doesn't mean it's my favorite. It's just one of my favorites, and it's enormous, and I wish I could live in that world. I also wish I could live on Jurassic Park and fight dinosaurs, because that would be cool. But yeah, any book by Robin Hobb, Sherwood Smith, Lloyd Alexander, Ursula K. Le Guin, Megan Maitland Turner, Garth Nix, Peter S. Beagle. Yeah, I have a lot of favorite authors. Well, again, lots of favorites. I'd say lately I am obsessed with Two Steps from Hell, their orchestral compositions, and I cannot stop listening to them. I think my favorite is probably El Dorado, but pretty much anything on their public albums is amazing. I just have all of the albums on a single playlist and listen to it on shuffle for every day, all day. Oh, and also right now I'm obsessed with Pompeii by Bastille. Song makes me want to go save the world. It's really good. Really good. You guys should look it up.
Thanks for watching our interview, guys. If you haven't read the series yet, I highly suggest you get the first book, because it's out in paperback now.
And the second book.
Yes. Basically, the reason you should get this book is because the story is fantastic. Yeah. Main character Eleanor is so kick-ass.
She is.
Especially in the second book.
Especially in the second book.
And of course there's Daniel. I don't think there's any explanation needed there.
Except that we love him.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And have laid claim to him, and Susan already knows that, so. Works out for you and for me. But guys, thank you so much for joining us for our Something Strange and Deadly celebration to celebrate the release of Susan's second book. If you missed yesterday's posts, A Day in Philly, that's on my blog, and A Day in Paris, that's on Rachel's blog, you can check them out in the links below, and we'll also have links for Susan's books and Susan's website. Thank you so much, Susan, for doing the interview, and we are so excited for you for the release of Darkness Strange and Deadly.